Thanks for being here with us as we wrap up another busy week of news. I'm Cheryl Wills. We begin tonight in the Village. It's 10 o'clock, and for the last 2 weekends, the city was enforcing a 10 o'clock curfew at Washington Square Park. Officials say it's been getting too rowdy there lately, and last weekend, nearly 24 people were arrested for disorderly conduct. However, tonight, the Parks Department telling us that they will not close the park until midnight. That's its usual closing time tonight. Angie Gonzalez outside of the park leading us off tonight. Angie.
Yeah, you know what, Cheryl? The party's still continuing tonight, if you want to call it that. Just want you to take a quick look at Washington Square Park. At this time last week, it would have been closing at this point. But what you're seeing here is not really what residents in this area have been complaining about. They've been complaining about illegal activities. And we actually noticed that now that the curfew is over, it really depends on who you talk to as to how they feel about the extent of the problems here. It's Friday night, and that's enough reason for some to head to Washington Square Park to let loose or just hang out.
Dance. You gotta dance. You hear a song you like, you gotta dance.
And whether you like to dance, meet up with friends, or take part in some performance art, those coming to Washington Square Park can now do so until midnight. That wasn't the case during the past 2 weekends when a curfew was implemented at the park at 10 p.m. That's a full 2 hours earlier than usual after complaints had come from some area residents reporting illegal activity and loud partying after dark. Park patrons we spoke to didn't appreciate being sent home early.
It should be open forever. It's a park. You can't limit like a public space. I don't agree with that.
Others took issue with how the NYPD enforced the curfew. That enforcement led to a number of arrests and some criticism. Mayor de Blasio addressed those concerns during his weekly radio interview on WNYC.
After a lot of attempts to mediate and all, there were folks in the park who were not willing to abide by the rules.
The mayor also said there was never any intention on making the curfew permanent. On Friday, the Parks Department told New York One that the curfew had been rescinded for now. They did say that they would, quote, continue to work with the police department to find the right balance of education and enforcement against illegal and after-hours activities that impact the park and the neighborhood, adding that across the city, we lock and close hundreds of parks daily without issue. News about the curfew being suspended came as a relief to some, as there were park goers there who said that they were expecting another contentious evening with police to transpire.
I'm actually glad to hear that because after the preceding incidents that the NYPD took upon themselves to try to force people out of the park last week, I find that disgusting.
Likewise, the NYPD says that officials trying to implement the curfew have come under attack themselves. One man who lives nearby says he just hopes the issue is over and done with.
Well, I don't think the curfew ever made sense. Essentially, they're using what parks are for. But things were starting to get a little out of control.
And Cheryl, I don't want you to think that there aren't still residents who want the curfew to be around. In fact, we actually spoke to 2 of them off camera. They were disappointed to hear that the curfew had been lifted. They worry that the issues that they've been complaining about are just going to surface after they're not quite sure how much time, but they're pretty sure that they will return. In Washington Square Park, Angie Gonzalez, New York One. Cheryl, back to you.
If anything happens, Angie, we'll come back to you live. Now to Queens.